Welcome to the Conservationist podcast, a Conservation Chat UK production. This is the place where we start the conversation about all things conservation and share them with our listeners. You can join in and interact with us using the hashtag ConservationIs and the hashtag ConservationChatUK. Let's start the conversation.
Hello and welcome to this very special episode of the Conservation Is podcast. I'm Steph and today's guest is a very good friend of mine. She's completed 2 degrees, set up her own business in conservation and even become a published author of a scientific study in her final year of university. Some of you may have guessed that today's guest is Laura herself.
Hi!
The co-founder of Conservation Chat UK. So this is probably a bit weird for you, Laura, as you're normally interviewing other people. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, hi, I'm Laura. I started my conservation journey in 2015. So I was just kind of floating around the earth, not really knowing what to do with myself, and decided that I wanted to work with animals. And one thing led to another and ended up doing a degree, which was interesting. But yeah, I basically just really dove headfirst into conservation in the past 4 years. So I got really into cetaceans. I've always been interested in cetaceans, but I got really into them during a project in my second year of university and decided to really dive into that and ended up getting a publication of my study done, as you mentioned. So now, off the back of that, I decided to start my own research project. So it's a non-profit, it's not a charity or anything, it's literally just a research project that I like to engage in and do myself because no one else is doing it. And I really feel like the porpoises in Brixham need help and need more research done on them. So I just got some volunteers helping me with that, which is really cool. I never imagined that I'd have my own kind of mini sea witch to play with. But I also started Conservation Chat, which is a business with my partner Stuart, who's often on these podcasts with us, because we're really passionate about conservation and we think the most important thing about conservation is communicating it and making sure that people understand the issues at hand and feel empowered to help. So I suppose in a nutshell that's it really, but I could go on and on. There's so much that's happened in such a short amount of time.
So I know that you've always had a passion for conservation, but as you've mentioned earlier, I know that coming into the industry wasn't something that you always knew you would definitely do. So could you tell us how you found yourself doing a conservation degree? Was there a moment that you decided, yeah, I'm doing it? How did that come about? And what was your journey to get there?
So it's funny. So I started off this whole animal science journey in an animal management diploma. I think it was a 90 credit diploma, so a level 3 in animal management. So this includes like wildlife management, dog, cat, general like kind of health and husbandry and like the basic stuff. But as I was going through, I was realising what parts I really enjoyed most. So that was usually ecology, animal behaviour, wild. Like wild is my forte. Like I love dogs and cats. I love pets, and veterinary people are amazing. But it's just not for me. I need to be out in the wild, working and just admiring wildlife, etc. But I've always been a really kind of ethical minded person, really moral kind. I've been boycotting Nestle since I was 14. I was in and out of vegetarianism for my whole childhood basically until I decided to stick to it. I've always had this really deep care for wildlife, and I was very lucky that my parents like kind of brought us into wildlife a lot when we were kids and stuff. But basically it was module by module ticking off what I liked and what I didn't like, and that eventually led me to let's go and do this top-up degree. So I did a foundation degree at South Devon College, which was in animal science, which was really, really broad. And then through that I found my porpoise passion and decided to pursue that. And I thought, well, I could do a 3rd year at South Devon College to do applied animal science, but the modules didn't really take my fancy.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the Plymouth Conservation top-up, and I wasn't really, I'm 29 now, so I would have been 27, turning 28 when I was deciding to do this 3rd year top-up degree, and I didn't want to go further afield than that really. So I decided to do this one. But it's all down to just, I want to save wildlife. I want to help in whatever way that is, whether that's posting blogs online or whether that's out actually in the field doing research or whatever. I want to be actively helping wild species and helping like benefit their survival, basically.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, my degree did kind of, it was surrounded by, am I going to enjoy this? Like it has to be enjoyable. I have to be doing modules that make me excited. Otherwise, kind of what's the point?
Yeah. I think as well, it's a really nice example. It's kind of like a non-traditional route that you've taken. So
I didn't have a clue what I was doing the whole way through. I literally just kept falling into things. Like I went into this thinking I'll be happy working in a Blue Cross. To I need to be literally like actively researching and publishing work on wild cetaceans. I mean, those two things can't be more different.
Yeah.
Like one's quite full on, like you've got to have a knowledge in data analysis, you've got to have a knowledge in collecting behavioural data. I mean, animals are really unpredictable. You've got to have patience, time management. You've got to be willing to spend a lot of time outside in the rain and the cold and the wind. I spend so much time stood on cliff edges. People probably are quite worried about my mental health, but it's not. I'm looking at porpoises.
Yeah. It's good for anyone out there that's listening as well, that's maybe doing a career that their soul or heart's not fully in, especially in this period of lockdown, and they might be reflecting on where they're going to go from here.
Yeah.
So it just shows that you can change the course of your career into something if you're passionate about conservation.
I mean, this whole journey for me came about, it sounds really far-fetched, but I had an epiphany. I was very fortunate that I was, at the time I was backpacking and I was in Guatemala, and I decided I wanted to make my time there worthwhile. So I decided to go and volunteer at a dog and cat sanctuary. And I was quite literally cleaning up dog poo at the moment of this epiphany. And I thought to myself, I could actually do this for money. I'd be happy cleaning up dog poo for money. And it just went from there. And I decided to sign up for a level 3. And then I was told that I should probably do a degree too. So I did that. And it all kind of just rolled on from there. I really just let it take me where it wanted to take me rather than forcing it too much.
Yeah.
And I also want to stress as well that I was 25 when I had that epiphany. I didn't come straight out of school and decide to go to university. It was all very, I needed to take my time in life and do the things I needed to do to finally find out what it was that I cared about most, to actually make that commitment to go to university, because for me, university was never, ever an option. And now I've got 2 degrees.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think anyone can do it if they're passionate enough about the subject that they're getting involved in, basically.
Yeah, I think that's a really important message to take. So from personal experience, I know that conservation careers require a lot of hard work and volunteering. How did you cope with dealing with the stress of university on top of working to pay your bills and volunteering as well?
University was the best and the worst time of my life, because on the one hand I found my purpose in life and I found the thing that I wanted to do most, and I was like studying something that made me so passionate. But on the other hand, I had no money, and a loan can only take you so far. And I did work for my first 2 years at uni, but then I decided to really get the most out of my third year, I need to focus. So I decided not to work, and I just had to make do on my loan. And there were a lot of days where I was on the floor crying, through stress.
It was tough.
And not just stress from money, lack of, just the amount of work. I mean, it is a lot of work, and I really don't think anyone should go into uni half-heartedly.
Yeah.
Because especially a science degree, I mean, I'm not saying that any degree is harder than others, but science takes something else, I think. Science is so evidence-based. You've got to read so much to grasp an idea. And the exams you have to do, you've got to really demonstrate that you know what you're talking about and that you haven't just focused your entire university course on cats and dogs or just birds or whatever. You need to be, unless you're doing a specific course that's, I'm doing a course in bird conservation, sure. But if you're doing a broad course like I did, you've got to prove that you know a little bit about everything, which is really stressful, the amount of reading. And they expect a lot from you. They really do. So yeah, but something that really helped me, and it sounds cliche again as someone who studies like animal science and things and is into conservation and wildlife, is making a conscious effort even when you feel like you can't do anything but cry on the floor in a heap, is get outside. Just go for a little stroll to the beach or in your local woodland, around the park, or even just down the road and up again. Just getting out and getting away from that insane mess of education that you're in, and then just getting back to the thing that made you want to do it in the first place.
Yeah, so just remind yourself why you're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I remember in my final exams, and it was this time last year, we were prepping for exams, and like I was so stressed, I can't even explain how stressed I was. And I decided like I need to get out, I need to go down to the beach. The beach always soothes me. Like no matter what's going on in my life, if I just get myself down to the water, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
And I just hooked my shoes off and I planted my feet in the sand, and it was like I was neutralised in a matter of seconds. And then I went home and I was able to carry on with that really important revision. So yeah, just really simple things like that. But also like, you know, the usual planning, plan your day, block out time for certain modules, make sure you're taking breaks, drink lots of tea, like the usual stuff that everyone else tells you to do.
Definitely some good tips. Could you tell us about some of the volunteering that you've done, and also would you recommend volunteering for aspiring conservationists?
You've got to. Like, this is one of the frustrating things about conservation. They need you to have a degree, but then they also need you to have 10 years experience in that thing. So it's never easy. That's why I started my own business and my own research project, because I'm sorry, I'm impatient and I'm not going to wait around until someone thinks that I've got enough experience to do that thing. Like I've really worked hard the past 4 years, and I've delved as deep as I possibly can into things enough for me to be like, yeah, I'm gonna fly with this. I'm gonna do this myself.
Yeah.
And I'm giving others opportunities to do volunteering now. So we're all technically volunteering together to do something that we love. So Operation Cetacean, I've got 6 and possibly more volunteers, and we all get together and we photograph and study porpoises in the wild, and we talk about cetaceans and how much we love nature and stuff. And they all really help me out by helping me with the data analytics and like even just like filling out data onto survey sheets and helping me with the website and stuff, all that kind of thing. So you're in the field and you're doing like the technical side of it as well. We're all learning all the time, but throughout my entire education, I just said yes to everything. I had a teacher actually that always said to me, like, you need to learn how to say no. But I think if you say no all the time, you're never going to get anything done. You're never going to increase your experiences. Like, I actually, in my animal management level 3, dressed up as Shaun the Sheep and was herded by a real dog at the Devon County show just to do someone a favour. Like, I'm not afraid to be embarrassed. I think it takes a lot to embarrass me, actually. But I will do I don't know. I even did in my first year of uni, I did a little show, a Facebook live show called Animal Shorts with my friend Holly at university. And we just used to sit down in front of Facebook Live and just talk about wildlife and hope that people would tune in. And like, we really, like, I think the main point was that we enjoyed doing it and we had to do the research into those species that we'd be talking about online. So it was all just win-win for us. And then we were educating and getting people interested in wildlife on the other end of it. So yeah, I think that's probably my biggest piece of advice for anyone who wants to get into animal conservation, animal science, ecology, animal behaviour, whatever it is. Look for opportunities, as silly or small as they may be, and just do them. Say yes. Like, so it can be frustrating that you're not getting paid, but ultimately you're going to have this amazing CV, and one day someone's going to be like, this boy or girl is amazing. They've done so much. Like that, we need someone like that on our team.
Yeah, it's important to remember that it all adds up, I think. So there's definitely times when I've been sat there thinking, oh, it's just constant unpaid work after unpaid work. But you just have to remind yourself why you're doing it and just, like you said, say yes to every opportunity and you will get there in the end.
Yeah.
So when did you start thinking about creating your own business in the industry? And did you have any other routes that you wanted to pursue just out of interest?
I'm one of these people that just wants to try everything. Like literally one day I'm like, oh, maybe I'll try like being a reptile surveyor one day, or I wouldn't mind doing this, I wouldn't mind doing that. Like, I have to have my fingers in all the pies. Like, I do. I need to be doing something all the time. But the thing, conservation chats are very new and very small business. And we started off just on social media, not making any money. We were just sharing our passion, like sharing tweets, Instagram posts, Facebook posts, which is the bulk of what we still do now, engaging people in conservation, sharing stories, sharing our own research, etc. But now, in the past, well, since November, we started doing events, which has been put to a grinding halt because of COVID-19, unfortunately. But where we find people who are working in conservation or similar and want to come and do talks for us and share their passion with our followers. So that's been brewing for nearly 2 years, I would say. Operation Cetacean kind of falls under that because it's all our creation. It's mine and Stuart's creation, so it all kind of falls under the same umbrella. I definitely always felt that a conventional life wasn't for me. I've done 9 to 5s. I still do 9 to 5. I have a full-time job aside to these other things that I'm doing. I'm a full-time data analyst at a university.
Yeah.
Which is totally unrelated to animal conservation, but I do it because it's a really good learning opportunity for me. But I always knew that I'd do something strange or not quite on the regular path of things. Like I'd say for the past probably 5 years, I've envisioned an online business, which involves writing, podcasts, like all this kind of new age kind of stuff that I really enjoy, and creating online courses, which is something we're in the midst of doing now. Because of COVID-19, we've had to kind of innovate even more than we usually do. So we're trying to work out ways that we can still share conservation and run a business at the same time. So things like webinars, online courses, YouTube videos, like we're trying to do all that kind of thing. But yeah, I never saw myself kind of the regular Joe kind of job.
Yeah.
I often think, I would like a job in ecology working outside. I am quite, I can just do that anyway. I do that myself. I do that with the porpoises. So I feel quite fulfilled, really.
So just a bit more to do with conservation chat. What would you say the key aims or goals are for where you're going to take that?
Number one has always been and will always be to share our passion of conservation and get people interested in it. Because all the years that I've been studying animal conservation and cared about conservation, the more it comes to light is people need to care about it as much as you do to save it. If something needs saving, you need to do it yourself, basically. That's why I study porpoises, because no one else is doing it in Brixham. Like the seal project's another really good example. They don't really have any scientific background. They just loved the seals in Brixham and decided to take that under their own wing. Like, no one else is doing it, someone needs to do it. Like, no one's protecting these beautiful animals, I'm going to do it. So that's always kind of been my mentality. But with Conservation Chat, it's a broad kind of business. Like, we can talk about everything from tigers in zoos to plankton in the ocean and natural disasters and climate change and everything under the sun that can link into environmental issues, sustainability and conservation, basically. My vision is to eventually be in a position to take on staff and take on volunteers and get people involved in the event planning side of things, writing blogs. I want to do lots more interview podcasts and like sharing people's stories about their conservation journeys and their projects and what they're getting up to, and just giving people a platform to share their work and their passion through us.
Yeah.
Because we're really, one of our main things is, because you see this a lot in conservation, you'll see lots of conservationists kind of fighting each other for space rather than thinking, oh, let's all band together as one band of brothers and work together.
Yeah, and share the knowledge.
Exactly. So that's why Conservation Chat have brought in the Seal Project, Operation Cetacean, and the Blue Shark Project all together, and we all worked, and Lupine Media, we all work together as a union.
Yeah.
Because we think we'll get so much more done and we'll save so many more animals if we're working together as a team rather than fighting each other for space, for money, for advertising, whatever it is that these companies are doing. I'm not going to name names, but we all know that there's these big conservation kind of websites and foundations and charities that are all kind of down each other's throats all the time, when really you should just be holding hands and helping each other out.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of people out there that are sort of unwilling to share knowledge, and so I think it's really important that your core values
Yeah, the
are
only
literally
thing we
about
charge for at the moment is our events because we put money into those events. But ultimately, everything on our website you can have for free. Our blogs are free content, our YouTube is free content, our podcast is free content, and we've even got free resources that you can download, which are suitable for children, especially. We really wanted to make that important, like word searches, crosswords. We've got some colouring pages on the way, just stuff to engage children, because that's another thing, getting people when they're young passionate about wildlife. So we want to make sure that our business is suitable for people of all ages, any stage in their career, or people that aren't even working in conservation. Just anyone, like literally anyone can get involved with Conservation Chat. And we welcome like guest blog writers. Like if you want to get involved, just send us an email. Always interested to work with people.
I think that's so lovely as well, to just sort of emphasize that it's for everyone. You don't need to be like an uber nature geek to be interested or care about nature or the environment. It's for everyone. So if you're interested, then just get involved.
Like even if you're not really a nature kind of person, but you've got this one animal that you really love,
Yeah.
like share it with us.
Yeah.
We want to know, because that's almost like a little seed that we can water and we can, we can help yeah, like make it grow kind of thing.
Yeah. So personally, what would you like to accomplish conservation wise in your lifetime? Is there any like big things
I've
that
got big dreams.
you've definitely got on your list?
I said when I found my porpoises and I got these really incredible results from my research, which were quite concerning about the marine vessels and how they're impacting their behaviour quite negatively. I said to more than one person, I am going to have legislation change that these porpoises are protected better. Because at the moment, there's not really, apart from kind of generic UK law where you can't disturb them, which most people don't know exists, there's not really that much protecting them on a physical scale. Even if it means me getting on a boat and going around with a big megaphone and telling people to leave them alone, I will do it. But ultimately, I want to change legislation and have them protected under either a special area of conservation or just have the area that they are found within better policed or made less stressful for them generally. That's kind of my main dream.
Yeah. So what challenges have you faced? Because I imagine that there must be a fair few. Do you think there are any challenges that you faced as a woman in the industry? Slightly controversial question. And can you tell us about any?
Yep. I'm not going to name names, but I have in marine biology, as a marine biologist, even though my degree is in animal conservation, I am a marine biologist by the animal that I choose to study. And I've done my best, my utmost to understand them to the best of my ability and all the science that surrounds this issue. Anthropogenic, environmental, biological, anything that is related to a porpoise, I know as much as I possibly can at this point. And there's always room to know more. But unfortunately, it seems to me that there are some people that don't like the fact that this young woman's come along and built her own research project, got published, and has got like a little group of people behind her, like a little army to save porpoises. And I've had some people getting in my way, basically. I mean, where I do my research is a public right of way, and all I do is stand with a clipboard and watch porpoises and tick off behaviours on a sheet of paper. That's as far as my research goes. It's all behavioural, land-based. And as far as I'm aware, I've not done anything wrong. But it seems to me that there's a few people that don't want me doing this. And I can't come to any kind of conclusion as to why this is, apart from that I am a woman in science.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle because it feels really personal.
Yeah. I think it's sort of a bit of a controversial one, but I definitely think that it's still a big issue and it's something that we all need to just be aware of. And I think talk about more probably, because I don't know about you, but I feel like I know that all your volunteers are female.
Yeah,
as well,
this isn't intentional. It's just all of the volunteers that applied to work with me happen to be female.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, probably if you ask all of them, they've probably had issues along the way, along that, they've all worked with cetaceans, they've all done internships. I mean, generally, animal science or animal management or whatever you want to call it is quite female oriented.
Yeah.
But it's more the like ecology kind of sector, the marine biology sector. They're very male.
It feels like it's very
prominent.
dominated.
Yeah, definitely. And it's hard for us to penetrate that. It's really unfortunate because we have so much to give. I feel like as women, I'm not saying men aren't passionate, of course they are,
Yeah.
but we've got this real empathic, nurturing side to us, and this is how I feel. Like the porpoises that I study feel like my children. Like I feel that connected to them. I am that passionate about looking after them and studying them and making sure they're okay, and no one's going to get in my way, like whether you're a man or a woman, as long as I'm working within the law and I'm not hurting anyone. And I literally just want to be left alone with my volunteers to do this data collection.
Yeah.
No one's going to get in my way because it matters. Like this matters, this cause to save animals from extinction is more important than psychology. Like it really is. It's more important than bickers and bitterness. It really is. So my advice to any woman out there who's struggling with this issue is just keep being good at what you're doing and keep doing it, because these people that are trying to stop you from doing these things or are making it difficult for you or are belittling you, whatever form it comes in, they probably just are threatened by your amazingness.
Yeah, they're probably intimidated.
Yeah, I think it can be very intimidating because there are all these amazing women scientists coming out of the ether.
Yeah.
But just I find Sylvia Earle is a real good one to look at. Like she never let anyone stop her, and she used to tell everyone like, no, we can't be doing this. Like we need to protect the ocean. If you haven't heard of Sylvia Earle, please go look her up and watch Mission Blue on Netflix. Like it's a really good watch. But this woman, she's like, I want to say in her 70s now.
Yeah.
She's still scuba diving.
She is amazing.
She's been to the deepest parts of the ocean as well. She's just this epic woman, and she's gone around the world telling people like we are destroying the ocean. We need to stop, and pointing the finger at people who need it pointed at them. So yeah, just kind of channel your inner Sylvia Earle and just be a trooper, be a pioneer, and just keep going.
And on the subject as well, there's also a really great blog post, I think, for International Women's Day that I read on the website. So I think everyone should go and read that.
Yeah, definitely go and check that out. There's a few interviews there's a few of the Operation Cetacean volunteers on there, and a couple of other really inspirational women who are just working hard to save wildlife, which is definitely a good read.
And so for any of our listeners who are aspiring conservationists, or indeed any women who want to start a business, just generally, could you give us one or two pieces of advice that you wish you'd known when you were starting out?
I don't want to toot my own horn too much or blow my own trumpet, whatever the saying is. But I feel like we did this the right way. So I'm just going to give some advice of how it's worked for us, because we haven't really come across any bumps in the road yet, apart from COVID-19, but no one could, we can't help that. Like it happened. We're working around it. But build a network before you start trying to make money, because otherwise you're talking to an empty room.
Yeah.
We spent over a year building up our Twitter followers, our Facebook followers, our Instagram page. We really made sure that we had a really good network of people following our stuff, our free content, before we started advertising for talks. And then we did like a pilot talk, which was done by me. So I did Operation Cetacean talk because I thought if it's me doing it, I'm not losing anything. It's coming out of my pocket at the end of the day. So we did that and it sold out.
Yeah. And
we had really good turnout and people were engaged. They were asking questions. They were really excited by these amazing animals that are in their local area. We kept it local. At the moment, we are very local. We've not gone further afield. But I would say that's my main thing. Build a network before you start making money, because you won't make any.
Yeah.
But you need... And also, rather than selling a product, like we're selling tickets to events, but ultimately our events are all about empowering people, inspiring people, bringing passion into their lives, giving animal geeks somewhere to go on a Monday night and go and listen to some other animal geeks who have been doing it a little bit longer and have a story to tell.
Yeah.
So that's basically my main thing.
Yeah, I think from a personal point of view as well, I was there at the first Conservation Chat event with your porpoise talk, and you could really feel the buzz in the room. Even it just had this
contagious
amazing energy, and I think people are so excited that there's this local business that are really going for it, conservation.
And we've got regulars now. We've got people that come to every single event. because they just love it. And, you know, we keep our prices low. That's another thing as well. We're not charging £30 a ticket. You know, we're keeping it below £5 at this point because we just want to spread the word.
Yeah.
Like, me and Stuart are both full-time. We've both got full-time jobs. We're very fortunate. We're building this business is like our little hobby on the side. So if it keeps getting bigger and eventually it can be our main job, amazing.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, we're doing it because we love it. And I think that's the key to any successful business, is it's got to be your passion. Otherwise it's just trying to swim through mud.
It becomes a job otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
And moving to like a more broad conservation question, can you give us sort of maybe 3 conservation issues that you think are the biggest that we as a planet face right now?
Yes. Number 1, climate change. This isn't separate from animal conservation issues. This is the main driver for many of the conservation issues that we're facing. And until we address or prevent the further destruction of the planet because of climate change, until we address climate change as a root cause, we're not gonna save many of the species that we're kind of putting band-aids on right now. So an example here is ocean acidification and coral reef bleaching. This is a direct correlation between climate change, increasing temperatures in the ocean. Coral reefs can't handle that and they die. They bleach and then they die. You know, you can keep planting baby coral reefs into the ocean all you want, but until you turn down the temperature in the water, they're going to keep dying. So that's my number 1 thing. And there's so many other things. Like, there's so many. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, I studied global climate change at university in my 3rd year, and it was just a mind-blowing module to study. And everything from oysters to deer and bats, and there's just every animal basically is being affected by this. We're being affected by this. It needs to be addressed.
The whole world is out of sync almost.
Yeah, it's totally out of sync. I think that's probably the best way to put it. So that's my first one. The second one is the issue of the ocean. We can't see it. We can't, you know, it's out of sight, out of mind. We are destroying ocean life in so many different ways, whether that be shark finning. You know, millions of sharks are murdered every single year for shark fin soup, or plastic. Every piece of plastic that you chuck on the floor will eventually end up in the ocean because it will blow into a river, a stream, it will go down the drain, whatever, and it ends up in the ocean. The ocean is the ultimate dumping ground.
Yeah.
And then there's all the toxic chemicals that leaked out of it and the choking hazards, etc., etc. Then there's, as I mentioned, climate change, warming the ocean, bleaching corals. 90% of all ocean life live on coral reefs. Therefore, if the corals die, that's basically the ocean is dead. There's nothing left. So protecting the oceans, protecting the state of the water, the cleanliness of the water, the temperature of the water, and just treating the ocean as something other than a dumping ground would probably be, you know, number 2 on my list.
Yeah.
Number 3, probably everything else. Millions and millions of animals that need help. It's really hard to choose.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of issues that we face at the moment. I think what you were saying with like the issues of the ocean as well, it's really interesting. So we've got a conservation chat film club and we've been watching some great documentaries on that, and we watched Chasing Coral, was it the other night?
Yeah.
And I was sat there thinking, why is it that we don't seem to have this emotional connection? But I think it's because you can't see what's happening. You don't have the same connection as to maybe like an orangutan that you can see on the news and feel sad about.
For one, like, orangutans look like us and we love things that look like us. That's why we love bears. That's why we love mammals, because we are one. We see ourselves in them. They're fluffy and they've got legs. As soon as you try and get someone to save a moray eel, that's this totally alien creature that doesn't resemble anything to what you are when you look in the mirror, that's a bit harder to kind of sell.
Yeah.
And that's why zoos are full of lions, tigers and bears. Try to save a shark when the whole world's been brainwashed to think that sharks are going to murder us all in our sleep. It's just a never-ending battle.
Yeah.
But like, coral reefs don't have a face.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have arms and legs. They look like plants. I mean, they're part plant, part animal, but basically they are one of the most foundational ecosystems on this planet, and without it, we are screwed. So really taking an interest in the ocean is something that will really benefit everyone.
Yeah.
On a universal scale.
And then I guess just to finish, you've given us so many tips already. If you could kind of just sum up, what would your 3 biggest tips be for people? So just like a quick fire, do this, do that, what would they be?
Talk to people, talk about conservation, talk about wildlife, tell people your favourite wildlife spots, tell people why they're important, tell people about your favourite animal and why we should protect them, write blogs, write posts, share links to documentaries you love. Just keep that fire lit, keep the fire burning, and get people to love the thing that you love, because that's ultimately how species are saved. Like, one person fell in love with a lion and then told someone else about a lion, and then they're like, oh my god, I love lions too, and now everybody loves lions. And fire is catching, so just keep talking about conservation and how important it is. And when people roll their eyes, just keep going. I would say don't just think, oh, they don't want to hear this right now. Just like
persevere with it.
Persevere. Don't throw it down their throats, because I find that leading by example is always the best way. Like, don't be a preacher. Just lead by example. Keep doing good things. Keep being a pioneer and someone for others to admire and follow, and just lead. Be a leader. Don't be a sheep. Learn. Keep reading. Keep learning about things. Never stop being interested, or like never stop that first. Never think it's too much. Or from a personal scale, like, my dream is to go to Borneo and see orangutans in the wild. That's been a dream of mine since I can remember, probably since I was about 6 or 7 years old. And I don't know if I'm going to get to them in time at this point. But I'm never going to let that desire dissolve. That's always been the number one thing on my bucket list, is to go to Borneo and see orangutans and take photos of them and share my thoughts about them. I think one of the most powerful things you can do as a conservationist is start a blog. Like, almost treat it like a diary, and like, on your journey as a conservationist or an ecologist, whatever it is that your kind of area is, or an Instagram's almost like a photographic blog, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've just started my actual kind of nature-based one. I've got a personal one, I've got Conservation Chat, I've got Operation Cetacean, but I've just started Laura Loves Nature, where I share my passion. I share everyday stuff in my local area. I mean, if I go travelling once COVID-19's kind of let up and we're able to travel, and I do get to go to Borneo, we're going to be hearing all about that online.
Yeah.
Like, every day I'll be doing stories and posts and like long explanations. I'll be writing blogs and I'm filming videos. Just share your passion, because there are people out there who want to hear it.
Yeah.
There just are.
I think that's probably the biggest message to take away from this podcast. Thank you so much for being such a lovely guest on your own podcast.
I hope what I said made sense. I feel like I can get a bit overly passionate sometimes and start rambling, but
Well, I think I've taken away some really useful tips and advice, and I think the listeners definitely will have. So thank you very much. Thank you to all of the lovely listeners for tuning in to this podcast. We've definitely got a lot more lined up, so make sure that you stay connected on all of our social media to find out when they are, and we'll speak to you soon.